Hello, Transurfer and the Transurfing Curious. My name is Renee Garcia, and this is day 3 of Alice in Wonderland edition of Transurfing TV. Today, I am going to talk about Alice's expression that she wishes she could shut up like a telescope. I know this is a very small part of the story, but I think it's kind of a big part of the story actually, because this is really our instinctual drive to not want at times to thrive out of fear or leaving the comfort zone. This is us, evolving out of childhood into adulthood. This is us needing to evolve professionally. This is us needing to start choosing better life partners for ourselves. I mean, we definitely go after different types of people when we're younger, and then as we get older, things start to change and we need to expand, right? We need to become like that full telescope rather than seeing the smaller part of the picture. So I think this is an interesting object in the story because it represents so many different things. One, it represents, becoming your big self or contracting and staying your little self. And then also it symbolizes perspective, in my opinion. I mean, I'm definitely curious to hear your guys' take on it. Before I get into it though, remember to like this video and comment below. My world is taking care of me to enter my daily giveaway for my awesome reprogramming stickers. And teachable link down below, Reality 2.0, rabbit hole indeed. If you would like to go to Wonderland, check that out. So again, the telescope. Now this is just my sort of rudimentary breakdown. I could be totally off on all this stuff. I'm just sort of calling it as I see it. But if I read the story correctly, Alice can't get down the rabbit hole at first because she's too big. And she declares that she wishes she could shut up like a telescope and become small, right? And then she, instead of doing that, she finds the potion that says, drink me. She becomes small enough, and then of course she falls down the rabbit hole. So what I see going on here, oh my God, there's so much going on here. It's pretty insane actually. So Alice wants to go down the rabbit hole small, right? She can't fit into the rabbit hole the way that she currently is. She knows that she has to shrink down in size to fit, but she wants to, in my opinion, go into that next stage as the small version of her. She ends up drinking the potion, which shrinks her down, and this is kind of like a shortcut. She isn't doing it the right way, or this is at least how I interpret it. She isn't doing it the right way. She takes a shortcut and she ends up going down the rabbit hole in an immature version of her, if that makes sense. So this is obviously Alice going outside of her comfort zone, but she's going outside of her comfort zone as the little version of her. So as I oftentimes viewed myself, even before I found Reality Transurfing, was that I was either acting like the big version of me, or I was acting like the little version of me, the small version of me, or I was acting as the big version of me, my higher self, or the small version of me. So in times when things looked scary or uncertain, or challenges too big, or life just seemed unpredictable, or something wasn't working out, maybe like a relationship, or I was really being challenged professionally, whatever challenges I encountered as an adult, I would definitely notice there were times that I would revert to the little version of me and then respond, right? And this is usually where I got myself into some pretty extreme troubles or problems or exacerbating an already challenging situation, because then I would act or I would take action or respond to the situation as that little version of me. Now, I think just self-development in general definitely helps with all of this stuff. It is being aware primarily. This is the first step of where you are acting from that little version of yourself or that big version of yourself, and calling it out, right? And my video on emotions, I just went over this, in depth, that it's really about you declaring to yourself that you see what your current emotional state is, or your current state of being, or who you are, right? The big version of you or the little version of you, and calling that out in the moment so you don't get swept away, carried away, taken down a script, or act from that lower version of you, that small version of you, that emotional version of you, and end up going down that rabbit hole into Wonderland where things are different and there are new rules and it's a new reality, and then you dealing with that version of reality from that inferior version of you. So this is why I think I treaded water for so many years, especially with self-development. I mean, there were certain parts of my life that I could definitely excel at, but there were ones that I just could not seem to get a grasp on, and things just got worse and worse and worse and worse. This was particularly true with my romantic relationships, is because if I were a telescope, I was contracting to that little version of me. I was shutting up like a telescope, and then I was dealing with that layer of reality from that limited space. So again, going out as a telescope, this is you broadening your perspective. This is you really looking at the situation from the current version of reality that you're experiencing, rather than your more primitive childlike self, and approaching the situation from a broadened perspective, and not being afraid of change or being afraid of the unknown or the unpredictable, because all of life is unpredictable, and it never, ever, ever becomes predictable, ever. It never becomes predictable. And even as a 40-year-old adult right now, right, I'm going down the rabbit hole of age. I'm at the end of my youth, right? They say 40 is like the old age of youth, but it's the youth of old age. So I'm like starting a new journey now on from this point, and I will admit there are times that I definitely feel like I want to retract into the childlike version of me. Wait, I want to go back, but there's no going back, and there never, ever, ever is going to be going back, unless you are doing forward to the past technique in the transurfing book. This is you returning to a previous lifeline that you've already experienced from that new version of you and having a different experience, but that's for another video. I don't want to intertwine those concepts right now. So it's really about you staying that full-length telescope, being able to see your reality from that broad perspective, living as the big version of you, not the little version of you, understanding and accepting and acknowledging that you may be embarking beyond your comfort zone and being okay with that. I know at this point in my life, my practice in keeping myself outside of my comfort zone so I can thrive and evolve and excel, it has become so like autonomous, and I just do it naturally, that if I feel like I retract back to my comfort zone now, something's wrong. So I'm constantly just pushing beyond. This is me expanding my telescope, right? At least this is how I see it. Let me know what you guys think. I am so curious to hear your thoughts. I want you to tell me if you think my breakdown is legit or if I've got it all wrong, because I'm really just, I'm just doing this freestyle here. So let me know your thoughts, everyone, and please remember to comment and like this video and say my world is taking care of me if you do believe that, or you want some stickers and teachable course down below. Thanks so much for watching my video, everyone. Bye.